Gave me the signal or what, Joe? You're totally frozen.
Go.
And now something completely different.
Can you hear me?
Good afternoon. I'm speaking to you live just outside.
I like to think balding is just God's way of saying, now let's see you get laid.
Is it true that if you don't use it, you lose it?
What I'd really like to do is put the greatness of this man in perspective.
The hair loss community has a lot to be thankful for, having you as a spokesperson.
You mean you just call this guy up?
About life and about reality.
And now, America's #1 reality radio show for men. Live from Los Angeles, it's Spencer Kobren's The Bald Truth.
I mean, I have to laugh. You know, the first time I've ever promoted the show on my Instagram, and this is what happens. Hey, Joe.
Yep. Hey, man. How's it going?
Yeah, you know what? It's been, I've had better days. I've had worse days. What's happening?
I've had a few worse days, but not many.
Well, as you guys can see, we are looking at Joe from a different angle, and I think that everything is clear, so that's good. Welcome to the show. Sorry that we are about a half an hour late, 32 minutes late to be precise, but we are here. And you know what? The show's free, so deal with it. Let me give you the phone number. It's 888-659-3727. And if you're new to the broadcast, don't know who we are, why we are here, this is the Hair Loss Show. Been doing the program for about 24 years, and the reason I have been on the air in some form or another for this long is because 200,000 of you are waking up every day realizing for the first time that you're losing your hair, and you don't know what the fuck to do. And sadly, it's a $4.5 billion a year industry where 99% of all products and services that claim to stop, prevent, or treat hair loss are complete bullshit. They will not help you. And in some cases, say if you choose to have hair transplant surgery and you don't do your due diligence, it's a tough one, do your due diligence, there's a pretty strong chance you're going to get fucked up. 7 out of 10 hair transplant patients in today's environment range from being dissatisfied to disfigured. And it actually may be slightly more now because the work that I'm seeing, and slightly more, what is that, 8 out of 10? Maybe. Because it's that dangerous out there now. So if you're tuning in, if you saw me promote this through my Instagram, if you are new to the broadcast, the first time you want to call in live, this is what we're here for. We're here to guide you in a safe direction. We're here to tell you everything and anything you guys need to know about this fucked up industry. That's it. I can't grow your hair back. Can't do it. I don't have those powers. But what I can do, and what we both can do, is help guide you safely, help you navigate safely through this fucked up industry. Now, with that said, there is hope. There are 2 FDA-approved products that we know work. There is one FDA-approved product that's not approved for hair loss, but is approved for another indication that we know works. We know that platelet-rich plasma therapy can work if you're the right candidate and if you have the right process performed. Sadly, that's a big money grab, so most people are just re-injecting your own plasma without it being actually platelet rich, and sometimes it's platelet poor. But there is hope. And you can get a great hair transplant if you know where to go. Just lost Joe again, of course. If you know where to go.
Here.
Are you there? I don't see you.
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey,
I had to put my phone into airplane mode.
That's cool, but your screen is not coming in, so.
I know. There we go. I'm back.
Okay. And I lost my train of thought. But look, it's fucked up, guys. It's a fucked up industry. We're here to provide you with a safe place to get all the information you need. We're not here to sell you anything. I have somehow been on this, doing this show for 24 years without ever having to sell shit. Now, when I was on the radio, of course, there was advertising. But I was able to pick and choose the advertisers, and they paid a premium to be on the program. Whereas when, say, CBS was paying me for a short while for my broadcast, They were just selling ads to anybody. The big chain clinics were buying ads. People were buying ads before and after the show. It was like a fucking Turkish bazaar of advertising, and I had to stop that and kind of take control of the program and do it the way that we do it. It's one reason why that's one reason why we had to keep it relatively small, but that's also why we've been able to tell the truth for so long. If we allowed it to get too big, advertisers don't like the truth. That's sadly the reality, and neither do radio stations. And it's difficult for them to sell ads. So we're here still answering your questions. If there's 3,000 or 4,000 people listening right now, you guys are lucky. Trust me, because if you're considering any product or service to treat your hair loss, or if you're considering surgery, there's a strong possibility you're going to be ripped off or disfigured. So here's your opportunity to ask some questions. 888-659-3727. I'm not even going to introduce Joe today because you guys should know who he is already. Let's see who this is.
Because my connection's so bad.
Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hey, it's Mike calling from the Big Apple.
Mike from the Big Apple. How are you, man?
Hey, Mike.
I'm good, thanks. How you been? Hey, guys. Yeah, you guys. Last week was a great show. I just want to let you guys know that really quick. Some really good information that you guys won last week.
Oh, thanks.
Really,
I don't even remember what happened last week.
Well, one of the main things, a few questions, but one of the things you guys went into last week in the opening was about products that are out there today and how there hasn't been anything really significant in 25 years, but you talked about everything from like PRP and even laser helmets you kind of mentioned a little bit. So I was curious if you knew about a product that was around in the early 2000s that it was apparently a mix of minoxidil and something azelaic acid.
Avicor?
No, it was called Lipogain.
Lipogain.
Oh, yeah. But it's the thing is, it had a certain mixture that it doesn't have anymore. And the reason I'm bringing it up is because Joe Rogan on his podcast one time I saw on a forum mentioned how it worked like crazy and it was helping his hair and his friends were using it. And then apparently it couldn't get FDA approved, and it was and the azelaic acid part or something was taken out of it, and the product was never the same after that. And I actually dug more into it on the internet and found that there really was some real success with this product, like really good. So I'm curious if you knew anything about that going back all those years.
There was also a product that a guy by the name of Dr. Lee was making. He was the first guy to use azelaic, I can never pronounce that, acid with a higher dose minoxidil, and he was getting very good results. And unfortunately, the FDA shut him down. And I think what happened was there was a lot of professional jealousy. A lot of doctors who were trying to make their own concoctions, and he was selling it, all over the country, and I think around the world at some point.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, and it was the exact same product. So yeah, all of those things were shut down, and I have to say that there were some people who believed that they were getting great results. There are also people who are getting, at least reported to us, like follicular fibrosis. They were getting kind of a hardening of the scalp. They were getting, severe, almost like first, second degree burning type of a situation where they would get so irritated.
Yeah, now that you mention it, he mentioned actually Rogan himself said that his scalp would get like red initially and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I never knew anybody who used it for the long term, and I don't think. And again, Rogan, he went through he went through it all. He had a couple of transplants too. Even the guys who were on it or going on and off it for years, there were never any that I was aware of long-term results.
Gotcha. Okay, thanks for that. And so as far as like these products, like as far as wondering if something's out there and all that, last week you were kind of talking about, I forget exactly what, like the COVID vaccine and how it was produced so quickly. And I'm wondering, do you guys think, obviously something like that happened in record time. We got this COVID vaccine, but that's because you had all the scientists in the world and the companies trying to find this fast. Do you think if the same effort was put into, let's say, the hair loss, that there is actually something out there that could be found, or is it just that there's not enough eyes on what's going on?
I think if there was like a Manhattan Project for hair loss, then they would absolutely be able to solve this equation, 100%. So I don't know if you're familiar with the Manhattan Project, but you know, if you're not, these are the guys that worked on the atomic bomb. You know, I mean, these guys, they were all in, man, and they made this happen so they could end the war. Right. Yeah, if you know, what was the project that? What was the project? What was the project for this vaccine? Jesus Christ, Joe, I'm losing my mind.
Warp speed.
Warp speed. Yeah.
Warp speed. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if there was a project Warp Speed for hair loss, to treat hair loss, if Elon Musk got behind it and said, you know what, I'm going to make this happen in a year, he would make it happen.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's all right. And the last 2 questions was for Joe specifically, if you don't mind. That
I mean, if Joe Rogan really wanted this to happen, he can contact Elon Musk, and we could all make this happen. That's it.
Well, Elon Musk already got his hair taken care of, unfortunately.
Say it again?
I said Musk already had his transplant taken. He had that all taken care of.
Doesn't make a difference. So it's all about change. He's all about changing the world, man.
Hey, I know. I wish maybe you could start.
Just because he had a hair transplant doesn't mean he doesn't care about hair loss anymore. Like it's, you know, look at us or look at me. I've had 10, and I still care about it.
Dude,
I don't know a guy that's had a hair transplant that doesn't.
I was dealing with the comb over today, and I'm looking at the back. I just got a haircut, and you know he thins out the sides because I get the bozo thing, and I'm like, man, he took off too much in the back. I'm fucking bald. You know, so I'm constantly dealing with it. Still, I'm 56 years old. It's not going away. And I'm like, what's going to happen next year? What's going to happen the year after? Listen,
maybe you guys could start tweeting at Elon. Get him.
Let me tell you something.
Going.
Joe Rogan can make this happen if he wanted to. That's how big he is.
Yeah. Okay. Just for Joe Tillman, I just have a question. If that's okay.
No questions for Joe today.
Well, 2 actually. First, a quick one. Do you plan on ever just setting up like a flat out like consultation thing through your website where you know somebody could pay and you know get you know a response from you in a week or 2 or so? Okay.
No. And the reason being is this. Okay, there's a couple reasons. Number one, I don't believe in charging money to people that are looking for information that's already out there. Like the majority of what I've talked about, that's what my hair transplant class is for, where I've got all these different things I talk about that you don't hear about from any other clinic or especially from any other YouTuber. Like I'm putting my experience into that so that people can utilize it for their own. When it comes to doing a consultation, whether it was free or paid, the moment that I start doing a consultation, that's when I'm responsible for your decision. Like I'll never tell anyone which doctor to go to, but I've discovered that even when I give a consultation to someone and I don't say where to go, if they made a decision that they're not happy with,
they blame you.
They might come back and blame me.
Dude, welcome to the fucking club, man. I've been doing this for I've been doing this for 25 years. Do you know the shit that I've gotten from people who it basically states surgery is a last resort. This is a group of guys who are doing the most consistent surgery. Don't have fucking surgery. Don't do it. And they end up doing it, and they go to a doctor that's part of the IHRS, and for whatever reason they didn't do well that day, or that for whatever reason that particular doctor had an off day, or his techs had an off day, and they were fucked up, which can happen, and then all of a sudden they're upset. Like, oh, well, they were on this list. It's not a list, first of all. It's an association. It's a society. Yeah. It's an organization. And that's just the reality. So I understand Joe's point. Listen, I don't talk to anybody anymore. I learned my lesson a long time ago. You want to contact me directly? You can't. Contact the show.
Gotcha.
Nothing personal, dude. I'm just saying and you know why? Yeah. Because other people have ruined it for you, man. Other people fucked it up for all the rest of you guys.
Let me tell you something. I had, when I started doing this independently 6 years ago, I had the most ambitious plans to help you guys. I had a program where I had doctors that were lined up that were going to do a pro bono case every year to help correct, bad surgeries from other clinics. I had the opportunity or the option for people to reach out to me for consultations, and like nothing but the most altruistic intentions. Like I just wanted to help you guys. But after having several patients that had had surgery with doctors that I had lined up that were happy to help, the one thing that goes wrong, they blame that doctor even though it's from the previous surgery. They blame me because of this program that I put together where they paid fuck all for their hair transplant from a great doctor that was trying to fix the shit from the bad doctor, and they still get, the new doctor's getting flack for the old doctor's fuck-ups. And that is so messed up. I understand the logic behind, or the not the logic, but I understand the emotions behind it. But there's a rule of thumb that goes on in this industry with great hair transplant doctors, and it's one of the reasons why a lot of great hair transplant doctors do not want to take on repair cases. Is because no matter how badly screwed up, how badly the previous doctor screwed up, the new doctor is now taking ownership of all the problems that patient has ever had. It's like they forget who screwed them up in the first place, and they blame everything on the latest doctor they've been to.
And here's
I've
also
seen it countless times.
A rule of thumb for you guys: if you guys need anybody out there who needs repair surgery, the last thing you want to do is go online and try to destroy your last doctor if you want to get repaired, because you will basically be, no one will help you. They'll be like, sorry, I can't help you. Not because they can't help you, because they're fucking afraid of you, man.
Right.
Yeah.
You know. But anyway, that's the reason.
But then the reason why I don't
Jesus.
I don't do the consultations anymore is because, number one, like everyone asks me, can I pay you for consultations? No, you can't. Because that just makes the ownership even worse. Like if I charge you for my time, I've had people offer me $1,000 for an hour long consultation. Now I'm the guy, even more so, that's responsible for your decision. But more than that, it's like I don't believe that I should be charging patients anyway. I charge doctors, and I don't think it's right for people out there to be charging, like laypersons on YouTube, to be charging other laypersons that see them on YouTube for their opinion based on one surgery that they've ever had.
And again, we're really getting into the weeds with this, but I know what Joe is saying. Here's the thing: most guys who are willing to pay for a consultation with a so-called expert, not us, but everybody else, you guys are fucking idiots, because these guys are essentially just potentially throwing you to the wolves. They're getting paid by doctors to consult on the sly, and you're paying them for their time and consultation fees. If they say they're a coach or whatever it is, it's all fucking bullshit. So, as far as you're concerned, you have access to the show. You can ask any questions you want for free.
Yeah, no, I got you. Yeah. I was just more, curious. But I'm the type. I'm crazy with due diligence, and even if I've already gone on consultations myself with two of the best doctors in the world, probably, and Bernstein and Dr. Doran. But I just, you guys, you basically, scare me a little bit, because I'm trying to make sure everything falls into place the best it could, even though nothing's ever certain with surgery. Which brings me to my last question for Joe, because Joe specifically, you said something like this a couple weeks ago. I'm in the process of likely going forward eventually with the hairline reconstruction, and I have limited donor. I have retrograde alopecia, so it's limited. Every graft is more crucial than anyone else. So you see these cases that come out, and it really is more often than not. It's like probably 5% of the time I see them, which is a crazy amount, where there's just not good. The growth isn't great. Okay, so it's basically like a borderline failed transplant. And you said a few weeks ago that it's a lot of this is luck, in the sense that it's lucky to find the right doctor, and then you just have luck as far as getting, I believe you said, like getting a good result, good growth. So what do you think, if you had is really the answer for when something like that happens? Is that just bad luck as far as the growth, or is that more on the doctor's end for screwing something up implantation wise and all that?
Well, It's a great question, but let's look at what each party brings to the table. Okay, so the patient, which
Joe, just gonna interrupt you for a second. Your Wi-Fi is going out.
Okay, I see myself moving.
Now you're moving. Now you're back.
I can hear you.
Okay, all right. So what you have to look at is you got to look at what both sides bring to the table. You as a patient, you bring your physiology, which is static for the most part, but it's unknown to the clinic. They're not running tests on. They're waiting a year to see how it grows. They're not doing any of that, and they shouldn't. Like it's not the way it should work. But you're looking into the table,
dude. This is not working out, dude. You're breaking up like crazy. Now you're back.
Okay, maybe because the audio when I'm talking is just too much. I don't know.
No, your internet's just crapping out completely. My speed is like my download is like it's a gig right now. So I mean.
Okay. Well.
Keep going.
Can you still hear me, Mike?
Yeah, I heard what you said about they don't need to go ahead with the tests and they don't know your physiology.
Okay, so is my audio breaking up or is it just my video? Because if my audio is breaking up, I'll just keep talking.
Your audio is breaking up, yes.
No, yeah, you did cut out at one point.
All right,
but
well,
go
I'll
ahead.
Just keep trying. So when you look at a clinic, they'll have, depending on the clinic, they'll have 3 to 5, maybe even 8 people working on you and your hair. So it's like when you go watch some sort of, like if you went to ballet and watch a ballet troupe or some sort of dance choreography team or whatever, they have to, imagine a hair transplant team doing the same thing where they got to do the same thing over and over and over and get it perfect each and every time.
It's like a symphony.
And I'm actually reminded of my wife when she's playing piano. She was just invited to do a recording, and she was practicing for months to get this 10-minute piece by Schubert down to where she didn't miss a single note, not in the intonation, not in the pressure she put on each keys, and she can play it perfectly and flawlessly, but sometimes she'll miss a few notes. And it's not because she's suddenly not skilled, because she's top of her game in Canada, but it's because she's human. And sometimes a finger may not hit that key as hard as it needs to for that note to come through as loud as it should for that particular part of the piece. And it's the same thing with hair transplantation. When you got a team of people working on you, you got several individuals all having to do the same level of work day in and day out. And if one of them has a hangover from a party the day before, they're not going to strike that key as hard as they would the day before.
Yeah, that's my line, dude, by the way.
And so the same thing is also happening on your head, where I can't hear anything. I can't hear myself because I'm wearing these fucking earbuds, and so I can't hear anything. So but it's the same thing with your hair. You got thousands of hairs that they're dealing with, and so they got to do the same thing over and over and over to each hair. They got to refine them, dissect them, examine them, place them, make incisions. So when you look at the grand picture of this, yeah, there's a big chance that every single hair is not going to grow. That's why I talk about guarantees being just a marketing ploy to get you in, because they can't legitimately guarantee that everything's going to go according to plan each and every day with each and every patient each and every time.
So it does fall on so it does fall mostly on the technicians, doctors. You're saying. I mean, it could be a physiological thing, but it does fall more on who's performing the procedure.
Yeah, I think that the physiology comes in for the long term with how your body's reacting to it, but overall, unless there's something that's undiagnosed, if everything was done right on their side, then there's no reason why it shouldn't grow. But that's not to say that it's something that's that can be identified. if you dig, like, the layers of this are really complicated. If you dig deep, it's difficult to really, like, if you say, my hair transplant isn't growing as well as it should, and assume you're the standard 12 months, and the clinic says we'll come in, so we can figure out what's going on, they won't be able to figure out what's going on. Like, the only way they can figure out what's going on is if they look in the notes and it's like, oh yeah, you were a bleeder, but then if you were a bleeder, why didn't they tell you that during the surgery?
Yeah, and they have no clue.
So maybe they can back off on density.
They're just crossing their fingers that you're not going to call them back. That's all.
Yeah.
They can't figure shit out. It's not like, okay, wait, come in, we'll see what's happening. You got to give it a full 12 months, and then if things aren't working out, we can figure out what's going on. They can't figure out what's going on. They look at it and they're going to be like, huh, all right, that didn't work out. We'll give you 500 free grafts. Let's see how that works out. That's all. That's what's going to happen.
That's all they can do. Like, right. The one exception to this is if it looks like, if there's visible signs of lichen planopilaris where the scalp looks waxy, where it's like a scar tissue is forming, it looks waxy, then they can say, well, let's get a biopsy ordered. You go to a dermatologist, they take out a punch size, a 2 millimeter punch size biopsy from your scalp, examine it. If it is proven to be LPP, then that's a physiology issue that could impede any hair transplant that isn't really something that can be diagnosed using the naked eye before surgery. A lot of times LPP flares up because of surgery.
I was just about to say that, but I couldn't get my mic on fast enough. Sometimes, people are like, why did you operate on me? If I had this, sometimes that surgery actually triggers it. It's an autoimmune response. Now, it's rare, but it happens.
Yeah.
Well, the fortunate thing about me is I'm looking at a doctor or speaking to one where he is the only one who he does the extractions and implantation. So it's not like I'd have to worry about because I'm very anal about this whole thing. But at the same time, he does have one particular case I found online where there was an instance like that where there wasn't good growth, and it just makes it just makes you nervous.
Every surgeon, if they perform enough surgeries, someone believes that surgeon fucked him up in every field of cosmetic surgery and general surgery, heart surgery, whatever. You perform enough surgeries, you're going to have complications.
I also look at complaints like if they've got 10 cases on the internet total, and one guy complains, okay, then yeah, that's reason to worry. But if they got 100 guys out there, and there's 5 cases, I don't really put much weight into that. It's like there's so many reasons, so many things that could go wrong with that. It's like, how did he take care of things? Is he combing his hair funny? Is it funny lighting? And I'm talking about looking at their photos where the guy is saying he's got bad growth, but then he shows pictures where he's purposely combing his hair to expose all the weak spots. Shit, I could do that now and complain about Dr. Wong not doing a good job, and every one of you guys online would be like, shit, his hair transplant failed. Like, it's easy to make a hair transplant look like shit if you want it to, and to start causing problems for a clinic.
Right.
And a lot of those are exactly that. I'm not saying they're trying to. I'm just saying.
Look, I'm going to give you an example.
They're taking bad photos.
There was a guy that was on all the message forums years ago, and he went to an IHRS doctor who has a stellar reputation. As a matter of fact, he's probably been with us well over a decade, and this is the only complaint I have ever seen on this guy. I sent somebody to him, a personal friend to him, to fly from LA to the state that this guy's in, to have surgery with this guy because he wanted to strip, and this guy really, this was his wheelhouse, and he did really great work. Long story short, this guy tried to destroy this doctor's reputation. He came after everybody involved. He was pissed off at us because we couldn't resolve the problem for him. And, this guy, I'm telling you, this guy has done thousands of cases. This is the single complaint. And this guy happened to be a little bit, I'm not going to say that. I guess he went off the deep end. I guess it really, listen, I understand that, but, I don't know what his mental status was before. I don't know if this is what set him off, but whatever it is, it happens. So if you were to read the complaints of this guy, if this was a decade ago and you were on the message forums and you were to read what this guy had to say about this doctor and how this doctor treated him and how the staff treated him afterwards and all the stuff that this guy put out there, there's no way you would see this doctor. But this guy has an incredible track record. So you're always going to find the complaint. And then some guys are going to be more vocal than others. And some guys, unfortunately, were not, the physicians didn't really see that they may have body dysmorphic disorder, that they weren't really an emotional candidate for surgery. There's just a lot of stuff that, it's great that you're doing your due diligence, but, there's something called analysis paralysis. And if you do enough research on somebody, you're going to find somebody who's unhappy about, their surgery with them. It's just the way that it is.
Right.
100%.
Right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate all the info. Appreciate the answers.
All right, man, you got it. And you know what? Don't pay anybody for a consultation, except unless they're a doctor, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, man.
Thanks, Spencer.
Okay.
Thanks, Joe.
Take care.
Take care.
All right.
See you, buddy.
All right, guys, you dropped off the lines. We have 3 lines open now, so call back in. I know that we were having some, issues with Joe, and, Joe's having some issues with us, apparently. Just kidding. 888-659-3727 is the toll-free number. We have lines open. If we do not receive phone calls, which is unusual, we stop doing the show. I go out and have a couple of drinks. Joe does whatever he does, and we just call it a night. So I'll give you guys a couple of seconds to call in. Otherwise, show's over. So it's 888-659-3727. We like to see a full board of calls, which is what we've had the last several months. So I will give you, I could play some music, some Jeopardy music, but I am going to turn off the cameras because it was frustrating getting on the air today. And if no one takes the time to call in, fuck you guys. That's how I feel about it.
We could do a dance.
You could what?
We could do a dance.
Yeah, it's funny. I was actually listening to Dave Chappelle on Rogan. And he was saying, we have this incredible technology, and these guys, they work their entire lives to get this technology to us, and like the iPhone, for instance, Steve Jobs, and kids are putting this shit out there, putting it out using the iPhone, and they're twerking in front of it. That's that's what the internet is now.
Yeah. That's what it comes down to.
That's what it comes down to. Let's take a call.
Twerking for millions of people.
Couldn't get that joke out. I couldn't think of it. Here we go. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from? Hey, caller, you're on the air.
Hey, guys. This is Clint from Austin. How are you?
Hey, Clint. How are you, man?
Hello, Clint.
Good. I've been trying to get a hold of you guys, so I was excited I got through.
Well, I'm excited that you called in, too, because we had no fucking phone calls for about 3 minutes.
Well, just to kind of ask you guys, I'm 38. I've been losing my hair forever. It feels like almost 20 years now.
Wow.
So I just I
relate. Trust me.
It's kind of hit that point now of it's hit the just shave it bro stage basically.
Yeah.
So but I wish I found you guys a little sooner. I've kind of gone through the gamut of exosomes and a lot of stuff, and I actually scheduled a transplant, and I'm getting cold feet on it, and
good.
So just wanted to kind of call.
Good.
And
If you could even consider the just shave it bro approach, then you win.
Yeah.
Because once you get a transplant, you cannot just shave it, bro.
Yeah.
That option is off the fucking table.
I did try it, and I am a white guy, and it just doesn't. I didn't like it at all. But
so get a little sun.
Right.
Work out, get a little sun, and here's the thing. I don't know what your situation is. I mean, you're at a point now, like you said, you've been losing your hair for 20 years. Do you know what your Norwood classification would be?
I've been to several consultations and haven't got maybe just an exact classification, but I would say probably, I'd probably be like a diffuse Norwood 6, where, I kind of in the teenage years, started with the recession. In the 30s, it started kind of just with the full diffuse pattern. And then, kind of reaching that point even where I can even see some of the crown dip a little bit.
So let me ask you a question. What's your life been like as a young balding guy?
So I'm married and I've got a kid. And so it's like, what the fuck are you thinking? Kind of thing.
So you had no problem.
Yeah, your wife is asking that.
Yeah, you had no problem finding a mate and enjoying your life, having a child. How's work?
Right. Work is great.
You fucking won. You beat it. I'm not saying that.
Right.
Listen, I know you want to look. We all, listen, I know how I am. Fucks me up. I was painting my bald spot today. And I always tell people my age because it still affects me. I'm 56. And I'm painting my bald spot before the show. And I'm like, motherfucker, man. This guy cut too much hair off the top. And I live in a disguise, essentially. I know but it's hard to deal with, and I understand it. So I know why you personally want to look in the mirror, and you would love to feel more comfortable with your reflection. But apparently, it hasn't really affected you. I mean, you sound, I can just hear in your voice that you sound pretty together. You don't seem super neurotic about it. It's just something you've been suffering with for a very long time, or at least dealing with.
Yeah, and it is. It's one of those things. I mean, at 38, I would kill for your disguise at in the 50s. It's one of those things where it hits a certain point and it does just kind of.
I am the Harry Houdini of the comb over, man.
But I did have just a real quick question for you guys regarding, the fact that I'm getting cold feet about it tells me I need to cancel it. But regarding retrograde that the previous caller kind of talked about, I do have some retrograde. It sounds like it's a little familiar. A lot of people are kind of dealing with that too. But all the docs I've consulted with, of course, they're on your list. They're very highly regarded. But I haven't had anybody seem just horribly concerned about it. But it really concerns me as far as most of them seem like FUE is a good way to go with that. And it just, of course, running out of hair would be a pretty big concern of mine pretty quick with something like that.
If they're connected to what we're doing, they're obviously good at what they do. They have consistent results, but they're also human. They also have businesses to run. And, you might be borderline. You may be a case where they could do a relatively small procedure and give you a good outcome that you can be happy with for several years. But if you actually do have real retrograde alopecia and you think that your donor is not stable or it's diffuse right now, it's possible that hair is not going to last. It's also possible that you could have visible scarring when you're 45 or 50. Some of these doctors, even the best doctors, you have to understand it's called the practice of medicine for a reason. And maybe in their practice, they've been able to work on patients just like you with no problems. So they're more confident, and that's why they're able to approach it in a way that, they're not going to say, well, you know what, you're probably not a great candidate, because they've been able to work on patients just like you. But sometimes they don't see those patients a decade later.
Right. Yeah, well, that's just kind of a question I had for you guys, because it is very conflicting with even maybe the doctors like Dr. Shapiro that kind of quote unquote wrote the book on strip versus FUE, and they're perfectly fine starting with FUE with something like that and following up with the strip later. So
I wrote a chapter for his next book, and my deadline was what was it? It was December 24th, 2016. I had to get that shit in. And it's still not published. I just had to put that out there in case Ron is listening. I think I was being edited. I think I was the only person who was assigned a chapter in that book that actually made the deadline. Just saying. Anyway, listen,
just saying.
You are smart to be thinking this way, because you obviously want more hair. It's available to you to have that hair moved. That it may even give you a decade of feeling more comfortable in your own skin, but it may not. And if you could shave it, or if you can just cut it really short and have a good life and be pretty comfortable in your own skin for the most part and not be like miserable.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, do you think you've obviously had a relatively fulfilling life at this point? I mean, do you find that you're very unhappy without hair, or you would just prefer to have some more hair?
No, well, I think it's a little too consuming than it should be,
right.
and yes, one would love to have more hair. I do understand, the limitations of it, but and then also, professionally, it is something I think is a little noticeable with what I do. But will I absolutely die? After no, I won't.
Now, what happens if the transplant goes wrong? How would you feel?
Right. Well, I mean, I guess that's why starting with FUE, I'd feel a little bit better. But yeah, I mean, it's
why
it's something. I'm sorry. What's that?
Why would you feel better if you did? Why would you feel better if you did FUE first and it didn't work out?
Right. Well, I mean, obviously, I know there's still scarring, and I've seen it online for sure. So I promise I'm not oblivious to that. But the scarring I've seen, even if it turns out a little bad, I guess if I just needed to hit the emergency reset button, I could maybe put some SMP in there, maybe, and do the short buzz. And
here we go again with the SMP.
No, SMP or hair into the scars. Here's the thing: never ever have in your toolbox or in your back pocket a solution for a problem that might occur but hasn't occurred yet, as a way to deal with the potential downside of your decision. It doesn't work like that.
Okay.
It just doesn't work like that. So, like I've heard so many people say, well, if it doesn't work out, I'll just shave it, or if it doesn't work out, I'll just throw some body hair into it, as if it's a guaranteed outcome. If it was a guaranteed outcome, then everyone would be doing it.
Right.
But it doesn't.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't work very well for a lot of people, and in fact, it makes the issue worse. So that's what I was asking, like why FUE, and I thought you were going to say, well, I can shave it and it won't be as obvious as a strip scar, which isn't necessarily true depending on how a strip scar would turn out. But what this means is that you have no clear path forward if this doesn't work out. Like you can't, like you have no guaranteed fix for any problem that develops if you're not happy with the outcome.
I recently saw, because I mean they're locking down LA again, or at least we have to fucking wear masks inside again. But I saw a guy who apparently he decided to shave his head. He apparently had an old strip scar and it looked like he had SMP in the strip. And I can tell that it was older SMP because it was turning color, and there was like this confluence of color, like it was almost like it was bleeding. It looked like smudge, like an old tattoo. And that can't be fixed. He's going to either have to get that lasered off, or, I mean, it basically looks, or he's going to have to get like a real tattoo put on there. And he was a nice looking guy. Like he didn't really, he probably didn't even need a hair transplant, but he went that route. So we don't know. I mean, these guys make all types of claims that, SMP is, they've been doing it. It's going to last for a minimum of 10 years. Most of these guys haven't even been doing it for 10 years. And the guys that have been doing it for 10 years, I'm seeing some of this work now, and I'm like, you know what? We were right. It does look like it's turning blue. So
and one thing I can't stand is when S&P operators say, we guarantee the ink for 5 to 7 years. And they've only been performing S&P for 3 years. How do they know?
Right.
And they also don't know how much sun you're going to get on your scalp. I mean, you're trapped. You're trapped. I see these guys who get their entire heads tattooed, and you know what? I've seen some really good work. Really realistic work, but they have to constantly wear sunscreen on their head. They can't get a normal tan if they're out in the sun. And they may be told this, they may not be told this, but they are trapped. It's another type of a trap. So you have to be aware of all of this.
Yeah.
Now go.
Yeah.
Do your thing. I'm just kidding.
With retrograde if you were going to go down the route of transplant, I mean, do you still? And I've heard you guys say you definitely recommend strip first, right? If you're going to have multiple transplants. I mean, do you with retrograde? Do you still kind of feel that fits in the same category?
Well, retrograde is interesting because everyone could have a slightly different pattern or progression.
Right.
I just have this thing.
And mine's just a little thinner behind the ears.
My mother always said, don't point to yourself when you're describing something fucked up. She wouldn't say fucked up, but I just did. And that whole Jewish superstition thing just came back to me. But, I mean, we don't know how far it's going to progress. I know guys who've had retrograde who are my age. It kind of like they have very thin sides, but the back is very full. So it really depends on where it's taken from. And the key is, with retrograde alopecia, it has to be removed from the true sweet spot to ensure, or not to ensure, but to mitigate the possibility of you definitely losing that hair.
Right.
So you can only take so much SMP out of the sweet spot.
I don't want you to think that retrograde alopecia is so much of a limiting factor for having surgeries.
That's right.
Because it's not. Like I've talked about retrograde alopecia because a lot of people weren't even aware of its existence, that it was even a thing. But I just wanted to tell people about it, let them know it was out there. It doesn't really get in the way of doing surgery. So, for instance, like most cases of retrograde alopecia are above the ears and in the temple area, or temple point area. People don't generally take grafts from those areas to begin with. So if you're one of these people that has retrograde above the ears and in the temple point area, you still have a band of hair that's a sweet spot strip. And if you go in with FUE, then it's a matter of just taking enough grafts from the sweet spot via FUE to where the appearance is more of a homogeneous blending in with your retrograde. Retrograde alopecia does not turn into balding like alopecia, regular alopecia in the areas of thinning. It doesn't just disappear. It just stays thin. And it means that you can't take hair from there because you don't know what it's going to do. But what it does do is it helps to define the sweet spot even better. So with strip, you go into that sweet spot. You know that's a sweet spot. With FUE, your sweet spot is expanded. You just can't take as much because it's FUE. And if you take too much, obviously it's going to look patchy and look moth-eaten. So there's a balance, but your retrograde does not preclude you automatically because of retrograde from having surgery. It just means that your donor, as opposed to if you're going to do FUE, might be more limited because some doctors will go a little bit outside of the traditional safe zone where retrograde might be a thing. That's more of a case in the nape of the neck as opposed to above the ears in the temple point region.
Well, that's great to know. I didn't know that. Thank you for the info. Mine is definitely temple point and ear for sure is what mine is.
That was a very lucid and important explanation, Joe, and I thank you for that.
Thank you. And in fact, just to expound on that, I have retrograde alopecia myself. I used to not even have temple points. They're completely reconstructed. So those areas did recede, and that's not so much retrograde, but it's just recession that goes along with a Norwood 6.7. But I did have, or do have, retrograde above my ears, and I still had 10 hair transplants and over 10,000 grafts. So it can work out.
Who's better than Joe?
It depends on how loose your scalp is.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome info.
All right, man.
Thank you.
Well, I hope we helped. Again, surgery is a last resort. If you can live without it, don't do it. But, if the doctors you went to believe that you're a good candidate and you trust these guys, then that choice is yours. I mean, it's always on the table.
Right. Well, I appreciate you guys very much, and thanks for all you do. It's great information.
You got it, man. Good luck. Let us know what you do.
Thanks for calling.
Will do.
All right. Take care.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
He's getting surgery now after that, Joe.
He's getting surgery. they just got to make sure that they have surgery to go in on a Tuesday, a Wednesday, or a Thursday. That way, if they show up on a Monday, they don't have to worry, or if they show up on a Tuesday, they don't have to worry about people being hungover from the weekend.
That's true.
I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding.
Unless you're going to a real hardcore guy or gal.
Yeah.
And I've known a few.
Like now this is going to be on the internet.
So listen, we had a guy,
going on Mondays.
Neil Adams in the chat. This is a good question. Can black men get SMP okay? Yeah, anybody can get SMP okay. Yeah. I would say darker skinned people probably make better candidates initially because a lot of black and Hispanic. I don't even know if I could say Hispanic anymore, but I'm not going to say Latinx. I'm sorry. I don't even know what that means. I'm 56. I don't have to go in that direction. So black and Hispanic guys, you kind of square off the hairline more. I mean, it could be a really good look initially, but you guys have the same problem as anybody else as a Caucasian. Eventually, that ink will change. Period. That's the way that it is. So if you're going to get it, my preference would be if someone was going to say, hey, Spence, what should I do? If it was a family member, I want to try this out. I would try something that's more temporary, like trichopigmentation, something that will fade over time, and you know it's going to fade, because if you don't like it, at least you know you don't have to live with it for the rest of your life.
Yep.
Because real ink, the ink in SMP is going to fade, but it's more likely going to change color, and then you're going to be like, I want to get this touched up. Sure, we can get this touched up. Do you think these people can go and hit every dot exactly the same when they touch that back up? They can't do that. So you're going to get this confluence of color in 10 years. It's just going to be like one big blue helmet, in my opinion.
Yep.
And I've seen it.
Yep.
So if you're going to get it,
we both have.
Yeah, do something where it's relatively temporary. It'll fade in a few years. And then as the temporary ink fades and they go in to retouch it, they, go adjacent, or sometimes they go over, the initial dots, but the other dots are fading, so you're not really getting that confluence of color. That's the only way to do it. It's a fucking tattoo on your head. All tattoos fade or change color. I don't care what they tell you. There's no magic ink.
It's a tattoo on your head.
Yeah, there's no magic ink. Why wouldn't they use the magic ink for regular tattoos? Well, if I was going to get, a mural of my mother on my arm, I don't want that shit to fade. Let's use the SMP ink. How about that? It's because that fades too.
Because it fades too.
Let's see what this is. I mean, here's the sad thing about hair loss and its treatment and the way that we all deal with it. Common sense is out the fucking window. We want to get fixed somehow. We see it happening on Instagram or wherever. These guys are getting it done. It looks good now. I'm going to get this shit done too. Let's do a documentary on this in 10 years and see what these guys look like. Some guys look, I've known guys who've had SMP a long time ago and they still look pretty good, but they usually had very light work done. They didn't have a full fucking helmet done in general. The guys who had the full helmets done years ago, some of them are actually in the industry. You see them now, you're like, I don't know if I would go that route.
Not thinking that, no.
But that's my opinion. I'm an old guy with a comb over. What do I know? Let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hey, Joe and Spencer. It's me, Connor from Oklahoma here.
Connor, what's happening, my man?
Hello.
How are you?
How are you?
Nothing much. I could say the last few weeks crazy, but hey, it is what it is.
You could say what? What was that?
Yeah.
What was that?
Life's been crazy, but hey, it's crazy.
What's crazy? What's crazy about your life? You're 19. How crazy can it be?
Tell me about it.
Yeah, tell us about it. How crazy can a 19-year-old kid's life be at this point? What's going on?
Oh, nothing. Just like basic anxiety and stuff.
Well, you know what? I understand that. I have suffered anxiety throughout my entire life to some degree. That's what the pills are for. I'm just kidding. I would say that, it's pretty common. And I noticed that a lot of younger guys who contact us, I mean, it's not just about their hair, but it's generalized anxiety, just living in the crazy world that we're living in right now. So I get it, man.
Well,
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, like, no, it's fine. Like, really something that doesn't, like, take over my life that much as it used to.
That's good. That's good to hear.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
So what can we do for you, man?
Joe's like, good. He's like, yeah. He's like, okay, finally, like Connor's finally stopped DMing me, finally.
He's like,
no.
No, he's more like, why did I ever accept those fucking DMs?
Joe, I'm sorry for putting you on
I would have
the
that a long time ago.
Yeah.
No, you did not put me on the spot at all. But thank you.
Yeah.
What's going on, man? What can we help you with?
Yeah, you're right. Okay. Before I start, I'm just going to say you're right. I'm not going to say something like that again because, yeah. Okay, but seriously, though, I just want to tell you guys my story about, like, I've told you I've bopped around with a laser device, but I never told you, like, how it turned out and just, like, how I handled it or something.
Okay. Tell us.
Because I kind of look back at it and laugh at it. So, pretty much, this is around the time when I just wanted to find an easy fix, and I didn't care what the consequences were. I didn't want to, like, I didn't care about the common sense. So I was like, my dad was like, hey, you can, like, you and me can have a laser comb. And I was like, oh yeah, okay. And then, like, we both shared, like, a laser comb around that time.
Wow.
And I remember I was like...
Some guys share, like, a malted with their dads, and you guys shared a laser comb.
Yeah. Like, father, like, son.
Yeah. I mean, my dad shared a pack of Marlboros with me. It's about as much sharing as I do with my dad. But that's my problem. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, man.
No, it's good. It's good that you're saying your story. But, I remember just, like, using it, just thinking, yeah, it's gonna work, because my dad, he knows everything. He does know everything. He's a smart guy. Just, like,
well, here's the thing. It doesn't matter how smart your dad is. How old is your dad, by the way?
Yeah. 47.
Okay. Jesus, your dad's 10 years younger than me. So,
yeah.
There's a lot of smart people in this world. But for whatever reason, a lot of smart people do stupid shit when it comes to their hair. There's a lot of really successful people, really wealthy people, and you can spot the mistakes from a mile away. Jeremy Piven now has a podcast out, and I got an ad for it, and I'm looking at what's going on with his head, and I'm just like, this guy's been through the fucking ringer, man. And he has all the money in the world, and he's a very smart guy. Joe Rogan, smart guy, biggest podcaster in the world. Broke that glass ceiling. $100 million. You know what? He fucked up too, and he talks about it.
Yeah. I gotta say, Joe Rogan is like, pretty confident that he shaved his head and has, like, a scar in the back of his head and, like, doesn't care about it.
Very confident. And that's what's interesting about, he may have been advised to get a hair transplant because of his career, or he may have thought that he needed to get a hair transplant because he was losing his hair at a young age because he was, of his career. And that's why he went that route. But yes, he's an extremely confident guy. He looks great with the bald head, and he actually looks cool with the bald head and the scar. It's fine.
Yeah.
I've seen him from behind. Like, he's in front of me. I saw him out in several times in Calabasas and out by the Commons and in other places, in restaurants. It just looks like, no one would know it. I guess a lot of people might guess that it's a hair transplant scar, but if he didn't talk about it, it's possible no one would know. He looks really good.
Yeah, like, I actually didn't know he got a hair transplant because, like, I've watched him since 2017.
Well, he's lucky that he's lucky that he had it relatively at a time when they were doing smaller grafts, and he didn't have any really visible cobblestoning. It doesn't look like there's any major issues happening in his recipient area, so he's shaving his head. It looks pretty clean. If he had had it done just a few years prior to when he had it done, it's possible he would have had larger grafts and shaving wouldn't have been as easy for him.
Yeah. So, again with my laser story, I was using it. I was like, yeah, this is gonna work. This is obviously gonna work. And I was just like, I didn't check the internet, which is a pretty good thing. And I remember just like a month after, I was like, I wonder what people's stories are about this. And I went to go check. And I saw someone do like a before and after picture, and people were saying how skewed the results are. I was like, oh, that's a little weird. And I went to check another video, and the same thing happened. And I was just like, oh, wait, did I get misled? So I went to check more and more. I went to check on forums, and then I realized that the laser device is not as powerful. I'm just like, oh, crap. And that was when I went into panic mode, started checking myself in the mirror, started looking at myself in the mirror. And then just, I was like, no, it's happening still.
It's a very common story, man. That's just the way, way it is. And in general, like we always say, you got to go for medication. I believe there is some truth to, or there's some science. There's some strong anecdotal results that I've seen with low-level laser light therapy, but it's not the norm, and it really you have to have the right wavelength at the right time, and it really is something that can slow the miniaturization process down. But if you have aggressive male pattern baldness, you need to be on medication, in my opinion. I'm not a doctor. So I'm glad that you found the show. I'm glad that you decided to go this route. And you're still on Keeps, right?
Yeah, I'm still on Keeps.
Good. Don't fuck with it, man.
I've been on it for quite a while.
Don't fuck with it. See how you do. I know you wanted to go to brand because we always talk about brand, but if you're doing well with what you're on right now, stay with it.
Actually, you actually like made me not want to go on brand anymore, because I was like, you know what, so what if I'm a guy who uses a generic,
Well, yeah, I mean, most people use generics. That's the whole point. The problem is a lot of people use generics. Those generics are switched on them. They don't know it, and they're like, why am I losing ground here? That's the only reason we say, you know what you're getting with brand. But generics do work for many people. You got to get Joe a silent typewriter. But Connor, we are going to take another call. I'm glad that you sound like you're doing well.
Yes,
I hope the anxiety is, like you said, it's not really affecting your life, but I get it. I know what anxiety is all about. Just hang in there.
Yes, sir, man. I just come on here just to like every now and then if I wanted a story. I don't like come on as a panic anymore. If that's fine with you guys.
Always, man. I'm glad that you're not in a panic anymore. Right. That's the whole point. Now that you've been able to get to a place in your life where you're not in a panic, and you can call and you can contribute to the show and let other young guys know what you've done and how you're doing with your regimen. I mean, that's important stuff.
Yeah.
All right, Connor?
I appreciate you guys. Yeah, sure. Thank you guys for the show. So,
all right. You got it, man.
Later, guys.
We appreciate you, too. Take care.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Take care.
888-659-3727. Joe just blocked Connor from Instagram, I think. Just kidding.
I don't even look at my messages anymore. I just I'll see them, but I don't see them, if you know what I mean.
No, I have to put no DMs. I didn't even have a huge Instagram following, but it's growing, and it's insane. It's like, I can't do it. Call the show. That's what the show is about. We're here for you. You have access to us.
And that's the thing. It's like we have so many different tentacles in social media, and on top of that, we have this thing called email, and we as individuals are supposed to manage all that.
I don't know. I guess people
have time for that.
I guess people who are really like influencers on these social media platforms, I don't know if they're really managing themselves, or I don't think most of them have the responsibility that we have. That you need to take the time. These guys are considering surgery or medication, or either in a panic. I have people who have been fucked up that contact us. That's what the show is about. I can't just text you an answer. You have to tell your story. We have to know where you're at in your process. Did I just say that? I guess that's what they say now. You have to know where you're at in your process. Can't just people
at least,
like, hey.
At least he didn't say you need to know what your truth is.
Oh Jesus! People contact us. What's the best X, Y, and Z? Like, there's no best. There's a couple of things that work. That's it. And I have to tell you, some of the questions that I receive, I'm just like, holy shit. There's no helping you guys. I can give you guys the key to the fucking castle, and you won't be able to turn the fucking lock.
Well, thank you. Very well put. Very well put.
Let's take a phone call.
But the key isn't the key is complicated. So anyway.
Yeah. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hi, Spencer.
Yes, this is Spencer.
Hi, Spencer. This is John. Hi, Joe. How you doing?
Good.
Hey, John. What's happening?
This is John from Connecticut. I called a couple of weeks ago about Dr. Bowden.
Okay. I remember you.
So I just have so I called the office, and there's a waiting period, and I wouldn't be able to be seen until December.
Okay.
And it would have to be probably virtually. I wouldn't be able to do in person. So what I'm wondering is,
now, let me ask you. You're saying that there's a waiting period for a consultation?
Yeah.
Wow, he's kicking some ass. Scott, I'll tell you that. Good for him.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It made me think these must be pretty good if this is how long it takes. But at the same time, it's like, how much time can I afford to wait? So.
Well,
it has nothing to do with the fact that he does one consultation a month. Just saying.
What's that?
Well, here's the thing. If he's that busy, if he has those many consultations booked out, then that's impressive. First of all,
right?
Yeah.
He probably wants to do the consultation himself, which I think is really important. He can certainly lay this on some sort of consultant, which a lot of these guys do, and they can do consultation after consultation to try to make that sale. So obviously, he's not doing that. You can see if you can be like on a potential cancellation list where, if there's an opening, you can be called last minute and see if you can get in for a consultation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
If I called back, yeah, I was going to ask about that if I had called them back and decided to do it. I just wondering if I should look to go somewhere else. I prefer to go to him just because of how good he is and how good his reputation is. But at the same time, is the information that I'm going to be getting, is it worth waiting, and is it worth paying, that amount of money?
Yes.
If my hair loss isn't like super severe right now, is there somebody else you think I should maybe try first? You
can have as many consultations as you want, and you should. There are other guys in New York you could have a consultation with. Look at this as, a prep period. So he can't have the consultation to December. This is the surgeon you're really interested in. But have some consultations with other people so that you can kind of get an assessment that's accurate. So if Dr. X says you need these many grafts and this is how they're going to perform the surgery using FUE or FUT, you'll have that information. And then you go to Dr. Y and get that information. And then you have all this information to bring to your consultation with Dr. Bowden. And then you make your decision.
Well, this is the thing about my situation. I'm still not. I still don't think I need surgery at this point. So, and like I said before, most people who see me, who I tell that I am worried about my hair, they don't notice it. So, I'm not someone who's like, I'm not like a Norwood 5 or 6 where I need.
So
surgery.
if you're just trying to get a consultation, I'm sorry, and I think I remember this now. If you're just trying to get a consultation for to potentially get a prescription, then no, you do not need to wait. For sure. If you want to get on prescription medication as soon as possible, if that's what you're concerned about, then if it were me, I would find somebody else to have a consultation with. If Dr. Bowden is too busy right now, and that's great. I mean, there's a lot of people that want to see him, to give you a medical assessment and to potentially put you on, to take you on as a patient, then that's a different situation.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I also thought about should I go to like a endocrinologist and have my hormones checked first, because I'm, I'd like to find out, if I'm actually, do I have like significant hair loss to begin with, and what is the root cause, and how much worse would it be? I know people can't really tell you that, but should I even just
an endocrinologist is not going to, the only way at the endo is going to know if you have significant hair loss is visibly. He's not going to check your hair with a densitometer. There's going to be no magnification process. They're not going to do a hair check. All he's going to do is he can check your hormones. He can see what your DHT levels are and your testosterone levels are and all that other happy horse shit.
Right.
But he doesn't have a crystal ball. He doesn't know where your hair loss, how your hair loss is going to progress. So he would not be the guy for that. He is the guy or gal to see what your hormone levels are and if they're within normal range. And,
Right. So,
yeah.
So I guess I'm wondering, would you suggest I do that thing first, just to clear that
Look,
up?
I'm not a physician, but that is usually not the protocol. There are plenty of guys online who think they need to be assessed first before they have a medical assessment for their hair loss to see if they could potentially, if finasteride can potentially damage them in some way. But they're really, to my knowledge, there's really no real criteria as far as an endo knowing, you know what, your testosterone levels are here and your DHT levels are here. You probably shouldn't use finasteride. To me, there's no, there's no value set for that. So they wouldn't know if you're going to potentially have adverse side effects. Joe, I don't know if you know any different.
No, I think that, if you sound like you're someone that's really involved in finding root causes of things that you're concerned about, just in general. And so if that's the case, then I don't think an endocrinologist would make a difference. But I think that if you can find a doctor that, like an IHRS doctor that's not Dr. Bowden, that can see you sooner, they can help you. They can help you, figure out what's going on. Obviously, by physical visual examination, maybe do some sort of densometer readings, or maybe they might even be Tricotest affiliated, where they just take a swab off your tongue and send off to the lab to see the genetic profile for what you might respond to better to actually deal with any sort of hair loss, like finasteride, dutasteride, minoxidil, things like that. But when it comes down to it, just go see an IHRS member doctor, make an appointment, and let them do the examination and prescribe whatever medication is best for your case, and move on. Give that 6 months to a year to see how it works out for you. And don't worry about Dr. Bowden. Like, he's still going to be there. Like, if you want to do surgery, if surgery is warranted, and you've tried your medications and you've stabilized your loss, and you've thought about the downsides and what can possibly happen if it goes wrong and how you'll deal with it if it does, and you still want to go through with it, and Dr. Bowden is still on your short list or at the top of your short list, then go ahead. But it's not something that you need to see him about, because if you're one of those people that thinks that, well, I want my doctor to be with me from beginning all the way through, it doesn't really make any difference. Like, he can tell, okay, you're on medication for 6 months or for a year or whatever. This is what you used to look like. This is what you look like now. Looks like there's no improvement, but there's no continued degradation. Your 30 some odd years old, your family history is strong, sure, we can do a minor surgery to, straighten up whatever bothers you. And that's it.
I have a question for you, and I'm not sure. I don't think you told us this, but did you specify that you just that you weren't interested in surgery?
Well, I mean, if things got bad enough, and I found when I look at pictures of surgeons, there's very few that I.
But I guess my question is, I don't mean to cut you off, but when you made that phone call, did you specify that you just wanted to get assessed, you wanted a medical assessment, and you were considering medication, that you were not interested in surgery at this time?
Yes.
Okay. Then he must be really fucking busy if he can't see you. Because normally they would have some consultation days, they would have you in, and it's always good, in my view, for all these physicians to, even if you don't need surgery for 10 years, to kind of get you into their system, so to speak, and start treating you. Some of these guys will be able to treat you, and you never have to have surgery, and that's great, for you.
Right.
And they can guide you safely. But I always tell the doctors that, look, even if these guys aren't interested in surgery right now, they need some guidance and they need some help. And these are the guys that really have the most knowledge. So I am surprised that there's no way that you can get an assessment or at least a consultation online. I'd have to contact Scott and ask him what's going on with that, because that seems interesting to me. Joe, I don't know if have you ever heard of that before?
Of not having space for medical consultation?
Yeah. Like for months, 6 months or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because the clinics look at it as just any other consultation, whether it's surgical or medical. It's still an hour that they have on the books.
Yeah.
So,
well, listen,
yeah. Regardless.
So that's your answer anyway. If you're just interested in getting off an finasteride or whatever medication, you want to see what's going on, you want a doctor to assess you and to give you a better picture of what's happening with your hair and your scalp, then go to somebody else right now. Dr. Bowden's always going to be there.
Okay.
Keep your consultation for December so that you're on the books and you can have that as well, even if you start with another physician.
Okay. And I couldn't hear exactly what Joe said, but look for a ISRH doctor, you said?
IAHRS, International Alliance of Hair Restoration Surgeons, like Dr. Bowden.
Oh, okay. Okay. IHR. Okay. All right.
All right, man. Good luck.
I guess I will look into that. Thank you.
Okay. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, guys, we have a little more time left. Phones are open. Let's get some lively callers here. Come on. Let's make this happen. Let's have some fun. Jesus Christ. Everyone sounds like they want to hang themselves.
Goodness. It's interesting to me. It's like this last caller's approach. He wanted to wait for he was wondering if he should wait 5 to 6 months just to talk to one doctor that he thinks whose surgical work looks better than others and is close to him, but not for surgery, for medication. I find that interesting. And the whole process of not just him, but the way that some of these guys are thinking about, about their research, wondering if it's worth waiting for one particular person. Like if we apply the surgical research on this, not the medical, but the surgical, they're wondering if they should wait for their doctor of choice to have an opening, or if they should find another doctor that's got an opening sooner. We've had calls like that. And I don't understand the logic behind that, because, and I'm thinking about a situation in my own life just today where I'm looking for a specific part for my car.
Yeah.
One of my hobbies is playing with my 4x4, getting parts for it.
Hey now,
money, which is never good. Hey now, and there's a very specific part on the market that is recognized as the best part in the market for this vehicle, and it's like there may be 5 other manufacturers where everyone knows that the part is it's just not as good. They're all inferior. So it's like me saying, well, because this part that I want is back ordered for 5 months, should I just get one that's cheaper and not as good quality, knowing that not only will it not perform as well, but it might actually fall apart and cost me, thousands of dollars in labor. It's like, I don't understand that. It's like, of course I'm going to wait for the best, for the one that I researched and found out is the best in that market space, right? So I don't know. It's just kind of strange.
Do you think you would have a job if most people had common sense?
Well, and then there's the what's the word, not the dichotomy, but the word itself, common sense. It's not so common.
Yeah.
If they had rare sense,
Yeah. So I mean, there's some really smart people in this world. They're really good at what they do. They could be whatever. I mean, professionals, and they could even be physicians who've contacted us. And I listened to their process, again, their way of thinking, the way they're trying to get to the end game. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. It doesn't make sense to us. Maybe it's because we understand the industry so much. Maybe that's it. I mean, I always kind of felt that I just luckily had the wherewithal to figure it out and navigate it without getting fucked up. And that's why I do what I do. I was a young kid. These doctors were telling me to do all these things. Orentrek wanted to do surgery on me. And I was just like, let's put the brakes on this, bitch. This is not going to happen. Something is wrong here. I don't, like, where are you going to put these grafts at 22? The guy was going to do surgery on me. A lot of people don't have that thing in them. And they're like, if the doctor says so, I must need it, or whatever, These guys are getting their heads tattooed.
That's true.
I should get my head tattooed. Makes sense to me. It's a miracle. Look at this guy look at this guy's picture. He looks great. People believe that shit.
Yeah, no, of course, they believe the Instagram bullshit.
But it's the nature of the industry, it's the nature of the weight loss industry. They believe the before and afters. It's all in general. I mean, do you think anybody's putting out something that's going to look bad? Sometimes they do, surprisingly, which is very interesting to me. I've seen a lot of really bad hair transplants, NSMP and all that stuff in hair pieces online. But in general, they're going to be pretty good. And most of the testimonials that you see are, when it's surgery, it's directly post-surgical. Most of them. Oh, big thumbs up, had a great, a great experience. I
hate that photo.
They gave me a lunch and they took care of me and everyone was so nice. You know what? They're not going to be so nice when you come back saying, I'm fucked up. Then all of a sudden, the door shuts.
Exactly.
They're not so nice. Exactly. You get a lawyer's letter.
I'd love to see a collection of these thumbs up post-surgical photos. Where are they now?
Yeah.
5 years later.
They're under their sinks in a fetal position drinking a bottle of Jack Daniels. That's where they are.
A collage of the walking wounded.
All these guys, all these clinics that you see online, in your feeds, and it's all these guys, talking to the doctors. What a great experience I had. Oh, this was great. Tell us how you did. Tell us if you liked the experience. Tell us this. How was your lunch? I'm like, people fall for this shit. They do.
Yeah. I saw this one where on Instagram I started getting hit in my feed by this Turkish clinic where the doctor is openly walking around the clinic, or as they call it, the hospital, not even wearing scrubs or any sort of medical attire. She's decked out to the nines, like wearing this red dress and fucking 3-inch heels.
I saw that. And she's popping into the surgical suites, looking at stuff.
Popping in the surgical suites, like she's directing shit. Like she's walking in, she's pointing at stuff. And
I was waiting for her to light up a cigarette.
I'm kidding. I'm telling you, man. Doing the thumbs up bullshit. And I'm thinking to myself, there are guys actually look at this like, oh, that looks like a fun place to go.
Oh, yeah. It's great.
like.
And I recognize that. I mean, I know who you're talking about, and they have like supposedly like 1 million followers. I don't know if they bought them or what, but that's another red flag. If a hair transplant clinic has over 100,000 followers, that's a red flag. Red fucking flag.
Yeah.
You really think 100,000 human beings are going to follow a hair transplant clinic? I don't care if the guy's on television. It's not going to fucking happen. God almighty.
Well, you also have to look at the engagement rate. Like look at every post.
You could buy engagement.
Million
now.
Follower.
These people buy engagement.
That's true, you can.
The whole thing is just, it's a fucking sham, man. It's a fucking sham.
What do you do?
All right, I'm going to give out the phone number one more time, then we're going to call it a night. 888-659-3727. You can give us a call. Otherwise, we're going to go home. That's 888-659-3727. Joe looks thoroughly relaxed anyway.
I'm to the point now, like I'm doing the show on my fucking phone.
It's wild.
It's like, at this point, it's like, sure,
Whatever.
Whatever.
All right, guys, no calls. I'm turning off the phones, and we are going to get out of here. Got some decent content for social media out of the broadcast.
There you go.
You guys didn't take advantage
Nice.
of calling the program. That's your problem. What are we going to do? Let me give out the website, thebaldtruth.com, for archives of this broadcast. Joe Tillman's personal website is hairtransplantmentor.com for everything Joe Tillman. Check that out. If you want to see a guy who's been through the mill and back, he saw the other side, check out his website. If you were listening to this broadcast on any of our, whether it's iTunes or Stitcher or whatever it is, what's so funny? What's going on? What are you reading?
Mr. Rolanda says, I look back, he goes, I told you it looks like Joe ate some mushrooms today.
If you want to,
if I ate some mushrooms, I'd be like this.
You were for a while. I'm just going to leave that on there for. I want these guys to record this. All right. Putting the camera on me, and we're going to give out these fucking websites, and I'm going to turn off this camera. YouTube.com/hair transplant mentor. That's YouTube.com/hair transplant mentor for Joe Tillman's personal YouTube page, the Hair Transplant channel. Also, obviously, if you want to watch this program and participate live, that's where we air the broadcast besides thebaldtruth.com. So ring the bell, subscribe to Joe Tillman's page, and you are in. You're part of the crew. You can go. You can also join us in the live chat. American Hair Loss Association, that's AmericanHairLoss.org, the International Alliance of Hair Restoration Surgeons, IAHRS.org. If you're considering hair transplant surgery, I created a safe place that I believe is a safe place. We just had our 20th anniversary. And when I started this organization, let me tell you, that shit was not easy. Everyone, you talk about cancel culture, from the physicians in the field to so-called competitors, and there were never any competitors, try to destroy that shit, even before it was launched, just when they got wind of it. It was fucking sane what happened. I never forget the first phone call I got. A couple of guys, my original senior medical advisors called. They were at a conference, and they're like, we can't do this. We're getting too much shit for this. They were at some live surgery workshop, and they were just freaked out by the whole idea. And people were saying there was some sort of confederacy, and these members shouldn't join, and it's going to upset the apple cart, and the ISHRS is going to be mad, and all the grand poobahs were upset. You know what? Fuck them. 20 years we've been helping people to navigate as safely as possible through this fucked up industry. It's the International Alliance of Hair Restoration Surgeons. And this year, we're going to be making some changes. Things are going to be growing. So, the old guard can shove it. That's all I'm going to say. That's how I feel at this point, man.
That's how we feel.
I
get it.
So if you're considering surgical hair restoration, that's where, in my view, you should start to do your research. It whittles down, all the guys in the industry and the women in the industry to a group who have the most consistent results in the field worldwide. And that's a hard fucking job. So check it out, ihrs.org. The UK show, we've taken a little break. Specs is on vacation, but you could check out archives for the show at apetojgentleman.com. That's apetojgentleman.com. Should be back live like in a week, I think, or next 2 weeks, something like that. But in the meantime, we have about 20 episodes that you guys can check out on apetojgentleman.com. Is that it, Joe?
Yes, it is.
All right.
I think that's it.
All right. So until next week, bad year to stop drinking. Until next week, be strong, God bless, and thank you so much for listening. Take care.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry for any inconvenience you may have been put to prior to the program, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. And if you could now leave by the exits at the